We often talk about attraction in terms of words, gestures, eye contact, and body language. We obsess over what to say, how to act, how to flirt better, how to keep his attention. But one of the most intimate, revealing, and powerful moments in your connection with a man has nothing to do with what you say. It's in the way you hug him. Yes, a simple hug. You might think it's just a casual gesture, a greeting, a polite goodbye, or something warm you do when you're feeling affectionate. But for men, a hug from a woman they care about, or even one they're still trying to figure out, can feel like a lightning bolt straight to the heart. Because in that one moment, he gets a glimpse of everything you're not saying. A hug is disarming. It's intimate. And most of all, it's revealing. It's when he finally lets down the emotional walls he's been hiding behind. For a few seconds, he stops trying to be impressive, cool, or collected, and just feels. And if you know what that hug does to him, if you understand what's going on underneath the surface, you suddenly gain a whole new level of emotional access to him. Because while men are often taught to be strong, a hug is one of the rare moments where he allows himself to simply be. So today, I want to show you what's really happening in his heart when you hug him. Not just what he says, not what he shows, but what he feels. Because if you get this right, that one simple hug could be the moment that bonds him to you in a way he never expected. When a man feels safe in your arms, even if only for a moment, something profound happens inside him, something he often doesn't even have the words for. You see, most men go through life in a kind of quiet battle. They're expected to be strong, composed, in control. They learn early on that vulnerability is risky, and that emotions, especially the soft, tender ones, are something to manage, not express. So they build walls, invisible ones, not because they don't feel, but because they've been taught that feeling too much or showing it makes them weak. And yet when a woman hugs him with warmth, with intention, without needing anything in return, those walls begin to crack. That feeling of safety doesn't come from logic. It's not something he thinks through. It's something he feels. In your embrace, his nervous system gets a message that says, you can stop running now. You don't have to perform. You're okay. And that message is rare for him, especially if he's the kind of man who's used to being the rock for everyone else. The one who always has it together. The one who doesn't cry, doesn't show fear, doesn't say, I'm struggling, even when he is. But in your arms, even just for a few seconds, that burden lifts. He may not even realize what's happening, but he'll feel it. His shoulders drop, his breath slows, his chest softens. And in that brief surrender, he experiences something men deeply crave, but rarely admit, to be held. Not just physically, but emotionally. That feeling of being seen without judgment, of being held without expectation, is what creates emotional gravity. The kind of gravity that makes a man come back to you, think about you, crave you without understanding why. It's not just your body he remembers, it's the feeling you gave him, the feeling of peace, of warmth, of safety. And when a man finds that in a woman, he doesn't forget it, because he's not used to it. It doesn't happen every day. In fact, for most men, it might be years, decades, even since someone last held them like that, not in a sexual way, not in a transactional way, but in a way that says, you don't have to be strong right now. I've got you. And let me be clear, this doesn't mean you take on the role of his emotional therapist or savior. This isn't about fixing him. It's about understanding that real intimacy, the kind that goes beyond chemistry, happens when a man feels safe enough to show up as his real self. When you hug him like that, when you give him that quiet, grounding moment, what he feels isn't just affection, it's permission. Permission to breathe. Permission to soften. Permission to be a man who's strong and human. And if you're the one who gives him that, he'll feel something rare. He'll feel home. One of the deepest fears many men carry, often silently, is the belief that they're only loved for what they do, not who they are, that their value is measured by performance. Be charming, be funny, be strong, be successful. From a young age, men are taught directly or indirectly that love is earned through action. So they hustle, they perform, They become experts in showing the best version of themselves, hoping it's enough to be liked, wanted, or chosen. And even when they succeed, even when they get the praise, the affection, the validation, it still doesn't fill the void. Because deep down, they're wondering, if I've stopped doing all of this, would anyone still stay? That's why a woman's hug, when it's genuine, warm, and present, can feel like medicine to a man's heart. Because in that moment, he's not being asked to impress you. He's not being measured. He's not being evaluated. He's just being held. And that small, seemingly ordinary gesture becomes something extraordinary to him. You're not responding to a perfectly crafted joke. You're not reacting to his achievements or how good he looks tonight. You're just showing up, arms open, heart open, offering connection without condition. And it's in that moment that he starts to feel something rare acceptance, not just approval. Acceptance of his whole self, the confident parts and the uncertain ones, the brave front and the soft underbelly he rarely exposes. And when a man feels that acceptance, something shifts inside him. He doesn't feel the pressure to perform. He doesn't feel like he has to earn your love. Instead, he relaxes. He lets his guard down. He lets you in. And that is a powerful emotional turning point. Because here's the thing: a man might date women who admire him. He might even be physically intimate with women who desire him. But it's the woman who accepts him when he's not trying, when he's just being, that he feels the deepest connection to. The woman who hugs him in silence with presence. When he's tired or quiet or unsure, that woman becomes unforgettable. Not because she said the perfect thing, but because in that one moment, she gave him a feeling he couldn't manufacture on his own. And what's even more powerful is that this acceptance builds trust. It makes him feel safe to share more of himself with you. Not the curated self, but the real self. And the more he shares that with you, the more emotionally bonded he becomes. Because now you're not just someone he's dating. You're someone he can exhale with, someone who feels like home. And in a world where he constantly feels the need to earn love, the woman who simply offers it freely without pretense or pressure becomes the woman he never wants to lose. There's something incredibly powerful about the language of silence. And no moment captures that more clearly than when you hug a man. Because in that embrace, you may not say a single word, but he feels everything. Your energy, your presence, your emotion, it all comes through. And the truth is, men are far more intuitive than we give them credit for, especially when it comes to physical affection. They may not always articulate it, but they notice, they feel the difference between a quick, distracted hug and one that is slow, grounded, and emotionally intentional. And that difference, that's what speaks directly to his core. When you hug him with real feeling, he picks up on your intentions instantly. He knows when you're being polite, and he knows when you're being present. When your arms wrap around him with softness, when your body leans in just slightly longer, when your breath synchronizes with his, it creates a rhythm of emotional truth. You're telling him, without saying it out loud, I'm here with you. I'm not rushing past this. I see you, and I want you to feel that I do. And he feels that. Even if he doesn't respond outwardly, something inside him registers it. That's why a hug isn't just physical contact. It's emotional contact. It's where your intentions meet his nervous system. And when your intention is love, care, desire, or even quiet support, he picks it up like an emotional frequency. And here's what makes it even more intimate: when you're in that moment and not trying to get anything from him, not attention, not praise, not reassurance. You give off a kind of feminine energy that is deeply grounding to a man. It disarms him. It softens his edges. It pulls him toward you, even if he doesn't understand why. This is why the most memorable hugs, the ones that linger in a man's memory long after you've gone, aren't the most dramatic or passionate. They're the ones where he felt something pure. Maybe you held him when he was tired and you didn't say, "Are you okay?" You just held him. Maybe you hugged him when he had a win and you didn't just cheer, you embraced him with pride. Maybe you hugged him when he didn't even know he needed it, and in that stillness, He felt more understood than 1,000 conversations could offer. What's beautiful is that your hug becomes a reflection of what's inside you. If you're anxious, he'll feel it. If you're fully present, he'll feel that too. And when your presence is warm, intentional, and open, it becomes a signal to him, this is safe, this is real. And men don't forget what feels real. They carry it with them, especially in a world where most interactions are rushed, distracted, or transactional. So the next time you hug him, slow down. Let it be intentional. Let it be felt. Because in that one silent gesture, you might say everything he's been waiting to hear. There's a subtle yet powerful difference between being wanted and being desired. And for a man, that difference is everything. Being wanted often feels conditional. It's based on what he brings to the table, his job, his looks, his confidence, his ability to lead or provide. It can feel like a checklist he's constantly trying to meet. But being desired, that's something else. That's when a woman isn't drawn to him because of what he does, but because of who he is, not for his performance, but for his presence. And few moments reveal this more clearly than a genuine, connected hug. When you hug a man like you mean it, not because you're supposed to, but because you want to, he feels it. In that split second, your energy says, I'm drawn to you, not for what you're doing, not for how you look tonight, but simply because of who you are. And that experience, being wrapped in someone's arms and sensing they're not just going through the motions, but genuinely attracted to your presence, is rare for a man. It doesn't stroke his ego, it speaks to his soul. It tells him you're enough even without the show. That kind of hug creates a shift in him. It awakens something primal yet deeply emotional. It's not just about sex or chemistry. It's about feeling seen in a way that stirs his masculine core, when your body melts into his, when your fingers trace his back, that when your breath slows in sync with his, it communicates something ancient and wordless. I want to be close to you, not for what you do, but for what you are to me. And that is the difference between a hug that's forgettable and one that stays with him forever. Men rarely admit it, but they long to feel that kind of desire. It makes them feel not just appreciated, but chosen. There's a confidence that rises in a man when he feels this. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need to perform or compete. It's grounded in something real. He starts to see himself through your eyes, and when those eyes reflect desire, not judgment, not expectation, he becomes more open, more connected, and yes, more attracted to you, because you've tapped in to something most women overlook, the emotional side of masculine attraction. This is why a simple hug, when done with presence and desire, is far from simple. It's sensual without being sexual. It's romantic without needing grand gestures. It's intimate in the truest sense, because it tells him, I'm not just touching you, I'm drawn to you. And men remember that feeling. They replay it, they crave it. It's what makes them want to earn you, to invest in you, to protect what they feel when they're around you. So the next time you hug him, let yourself want him in that moment. Let your energy lean in without hesitation, because when a man feels truly desired, it awakens a kind of loyalty and emotional depth in him that no amount of words can replicate. One of the most unexpected effects of a genuine hug is that it can unearth emotions a man has buried. And many times he doesn't even see it coming. You might think it's just a moment of connection, a simple act of affection, but to him it becomes something deeper. Because the moment your arms wrap around him and he lets go for just a second, the very feelings he's been avoiding, consciously or unconsciously, begin to rise to the surface. And that can catch him completely off guard. Most men live in their heads. They focus on tasks, goals, logic, and action. It's a world where emotions are often inconvenient, pushed aside, or numbed out. He may distract himself with work, entertainment, or endless activity just to avoid sitting with what he truly feels. But when you hug him in a way that's calm, grounded, and emotionally attuned, it interrupts that pattern. He's suddenly not doing anything. He's just being. And in that stillness, the emotions he's been pushing down, grief, fear, love, longing, Shame, even hope sneak through the cracks. Sometimes you'll notice a change in his body. He might shift uncomfortably, pull away too quickly, or suddenly go quiet. Other times, he'll hold you tighter than he expected, as if something in him needed that hug more than he realized. Don't be fooled into thinking his silence means he didn't feel anything. More often than not, it's the opposite. He's feeling too much. And because he's not used to that, it scrambles his emotional code. He doesn't know how to express it, so he goes inward. But make no mistake, he'll remember that moment. And more importantly, he'll remember you as the person who brought him face to face with something real. That kind of emotional awakening is powerful. It's not always comfortable, but it's meaningful. You become associated with something rare, his truth, not the mask he shows the world, but the raw, unfiltered man underneath it all. And once you've touched that version of him, whether he admits it or not, the connection deepens. Even if he pulls back at first, even if he gets quiet, that hug didn't just feel good, it shook something loose inside of him. And this is where your presence matters. You don't need to fix him. You don't need to say anything profound. Just be there. Don't rush the moment. Don't try to explain it. Your calm, grounded energy in the face of his vulnerability creates a safe space where he realizes, maybe I can let someone in. And that realization, while it may take time to bloom, is the seed of deep emotional trust. Because at the end of the day, what men fear most isn't being emotional, it's being emotional in front of someone who doesn't understand it. When your hug creates a moment where his hidden emotions come up, and you meet that moment with compassion, he doesn't just feel held, he feels seen. And that, more than anything, is what draws him closer in ways even he can't fully explain. There's something almost magical about the way emotional walls dissolve in the middle of a sincere hug. It's the kind of closeness that doesn't need build-up conversation or explanation. It just happens. And that's exactly what makes it so powerful. A man might walk into your space with the intention of staying emotionally guarded, keeping things light, not getting too close too soon. But then you hug him. Not just a quick surface level hug, but one that feels like presence, like you're there with him. No performance, no pressure, just pure connection. And suddenly, he feels closer to you than he planned to be. This is where things get really interesting, because men, more often than not, have internal emotional timelines. They like to pace how vulnerable they become and how quickly they form attachment. It's a way to stay in control, emotionally, mentally, even physically. But in the midst of an unexpected, heart-centered moment like a genuine hug, that internal pacing slips. The defense is lower without permission. The connection deepens without strategy. He realizes he's not just enjoying your company, he's feeling something more. And that feeling, though beautiful, can also be overwhelming. It might show up in subtle ways. Maybe he holds on longer than he expected. Maybe his breathing changes. Maybe he pulls back and looks at you differently, as if he's seeing a version of you he didn't let himself notice before. Or maybe after the hug, he gets unusually quiet or distant. Not because the connection wasn't real, but because it was. That hug made him feel closer, more vulnerable, and more emotionally exposed than he anticipated. And for a man who's used to staying in emotional control, that can be terrifying and magnetic at the same time. What he doesn't always realize in the moment is that this kind of closeness isn't a threat, it's a gift. It's the beginning of intimacy that doesn't rely on sex or excitement or drama. It's intimacy born out of safety, emotion, and unspoken trust. And while it might take him a minute to fully accept it, part of him will crave it. He'll find himself thinking about you when he's alone, not just because of the way your body felt in his arms, but because of what he felt about himself in your arms. In that hug, he felt seen, understood, unjudged. And that sense of emotional home, that's something he won't find easily elsewhere. This is how true emotional attraction sneaks up on a man. Not with big declarations, not with grand gestures, but with small, real moments where his heart feels something he didn't expect. That closeness, once felt, can't be unfelt. it becomes a benchmark for how safe and alive he wants to feel with someone. And the woman who makes him feel that without trying to control him, without trying to own him, just being with him in the quietest moment becomes unforgettable. Because for a man who didn't mean to fall so fast, the hug that made him feel closer than he planned is the one that opens the door to everything he didn't know he needed. So now, the hug you give him isn't just a gesture. It's a window, a moment where you bypass his defenses and speak directly to his emotional core without ever opening your mouth. You make him feel something he didn't expect, something he might not have let himself feel in a long time. Safety, acceptance, desire, vulnerability, closeness, all wrapped into one silent, sacred moment. And what's wild is you don't need to overthink it. You don't need to analyze every move or plan the perfect timing. What you need is presence. When you're fully there, when your hug isn't an obligation but an invitation to be seen, to be held, to be felt, that's when the magic happens. That's when you shift from being someone he's with to someone he's bonded to. That's when you stop being just another connection and become the one that lingers in his mind long after you've walked away. Because no matter how confident, strong, or independent he seems, every man craves that moment of quiet understanding, of feeling like he doesn't have to do anything to be worthy of affection. And when you give that to him through something as simple as a meaningful hug, you create a depth most women never tap into. You become the place where his soul exhales. So the next time you're in his arms, don't rush it. Don't brush it off. Let yourself be fully there. Let your body say what your words don't need to, because that one hug, the one where you're not trying to prove anything, fix anything, or get anything, but just love him in that moment, might be the moment he never forgets. And if you're wondering how to connect with a man on a level that builds trust, unlocks his heart, and makes him crave more than just attraction, start there with presence, with softness, with that quiet kind of power that only the most emotionally intelligent women know how to wield. Because the truth is, the woman who knows how to touch his body may excite him, but the woman who knows how to reach his heart, she's the one he never lets go of.